Welcome back, it's me Lou, and I'm here for another figure unboxing and review, and today is a very special video. I am very excited about this. We have a brick's worth of Heroclix X-Men Rise and Fall. So this is really cool. Okay, first things first, if you're unfamiliar with Heroclix, Heroclix is actually a tabletop miniature game that involves miniature figures. I want to say they're maybe about 28 to 32 millimeters tall, I think. They come on these little bases, and on the bases, it's a clickable dial with each figure's stats. And it's a tabletop game. To be honest, I don't play the game, but I've dabbled in collecting Heroclix figures for years. I'm not a super hardcore. It's more so dependent on like if there's a specific theme that pops up or characters that pop up. If it piques my interest, I'll go out my way to like collect them. The most recent Heroclix I've collected were the X-Men House of X minis, and that came out, I believe, last year. And in the past, some of my favorite Heroclix. This is like a lifetime ago. The old Halo Heroclix that came out back when the second Halo game was released. But I believe those were called, I think they were called Action Clicks, I think. It utilized the same system. I think they were still considered Heroclix, but it was just a little bit different just because they weren't superhero. Because Heroclix, they're predominantly Marvel and DC properties, but they also dabble in other things as well. So here we have a brick's worth of X-Men Heroclix. Now a brick's is comprised of there's actually 10 boxes, and I believe each box has 5 minifigures, and these are blind boxed, meaning you don't really know what you're getting. And you won't know what you get until you open them. So the chance of you getting double figures is really high. This kind of method of doing things is that chances are you'll get a lot of doubles. It makes rare and uncommon figures really hard to get. So there's a high collectability with these kind of gaming pieces. Now Heroclix is super popular. It's been around forever. I remember when they first came out, maybe like over 20 years ago. My brother's coworkers, we used to get together at lunch, and then they joke around about how some of their other coworkers would get together, maybe like in the lunchroom, and play Heroclix. And then I think I was joking around saying it'd be funny to tease some of them and like take a Heroclix and then glue it to the ground in the bathroom, and then they'd go bend over to pick it up, and then it's stuck on the floor. I don't know, it's just a mean nerd kind of taunting kind of thing. But the joke's on me. Here I am so many years later, and I I kind of collect them. So I was excited about these. I got this brick through Amazon, and I want to say I believe the retail price for a brick is maybe 100. I think $130 to $150. I can't remember the exact price. All I remember is that I got this marked down. I purchased this for $119. And the nice thing for me buying a brick, immediately on the day of a release is that I'm going through Amazon. I'm not going through a third-party seller. There's a risk involved when you go through a third-party seller because there's a high chance that this goes not only for bricks, but just for individual boxes as well. If you go through a third-party seller, you always run the chance of them tampering with the boxes just so they could get at the rare figure or the uncommon figure or, whatever the chase figure is. So for me to get a sealed brick from Amazon, as you can see here, this brick is completely shrink wrap and sealed. And it even comes with this, this exclusive legacy card. It's sealed product, not for resale. So for me, having this card attached to this cellophane wrap, and the fact that I got this from Amazon kind of reassures me that this brick of 10 boxes has not been tampered with. So chances are, the chances for me to finding a rare figure or an uncommon figure, it's not that it's higher, but at least I have some reassurance that it's not been tampered with. So yeah, this is really neat. It's cool to get a brick of anything. Like I remember when I was younger, just getting like a brick of fireworks was awesome. But here I am now as an adult. I'm getting a brick of Heroclix minis, and I love opening blind boxed or blind bag things. It's always a treat to see what you get, and it's even more exciting when you find something that's rare or uncommon. So let's get started. First off, let me remove this exclusive legacy card. Now this legacy card feels it's, I'm not sure if it's a softer material. I don't know. All right, let's just take this out. All right, so we'll take a look at this legacy card in a second. Right now, let's open up the cellophane wrapping, and we'll take a look at one of the packages. So my goal here is I kind of want to unbox all of them, but we'll see how the pacing is. If I'm taking too long, I might break up this video in more than one part. But if I'm going at a decent pace, I might just unbox all of them. Because knowing me, I might run off on a tangent. I might just end up babbling about you know, random things. Okay, so here is the box. So this is what a single box of Heroclix looks like. There's some beautiful artwork here. You have Cyclops, some of the Shayar or Shayar. There's Phoenix. You have Wolverine, Gladiator, Colossus, and then the Ultra Chase figure is a birthday Deadpool figure. And here's Deadpool coming out of a birthday cake. And you can collect all 70 figures. So each box includes 5 pre-painted collectible miniatures. So when you buy a brick, you get 5 times, so there's 10 boxes. So you're getting 50 figures in a brick. I want to say a case is 2 bricks. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but in cases where you could actually purchase a case, I believe that's actually 2 bricks. So I think that's 20 boxes. And I can't remember. There's no guarantee if you get a brick that, I mean, if you get a brick, you're not going to get all 70 figures. Brick is only going to give you 50 figures, and the thing is with that, you're going to get doubles, and in some cases even triples. So I'm not sure if buying a case is a guaranteed way of getting all 70, but you know, if you enjoy, you know, if you like to chase and trying to hunt down these figures, and if you don't mind blind boxing and getting doubles or triples for like trading or selling, you know, it's cool. All right, so here's the front. On the side, it's advertising some of the different themes that's included in this set. So with the X-Men Rise and Fall, it's not like the previous set. The previous set was X-Men House of X, and that was kind of based off of the X-Men's more recent adventures over the last 2 years. Specifically, their adventures on the island of Krakoa, and also as Krakoan citizens. If you've read House of X or Powers of 10 and any of the X-Men books over the last 2 years, you're kind of familiar with that storyline. Marvel's really taken the X-Men by the reins and kind of pushed them back into the forefront. For this themed X-Men set, though, for Heroclix Rise and Fall, it looks like not only is it focusing on Krakoa, but I believe that there's also going to be some alternate dimensional kind of stuff, like we see the Exiles here. They're going to kind of branch off to, you know, characters that aren't necessarily mutants, but related to the X-Men, like with the Shayar. And then there's going to be some Brotherhood mutants, which I'm excited for. I really want another Magneto, and I love this iteration of Sabretooth. And on the back, yeah, Infinity Warps. So yeah, you know, there's like amalgamations of different like dimensions and timelines. Like this is Diamond Patch, Weapon Hex, and I believe this is Dupe Pool. I believe it's Dupe, or what's his name? Is it Goop or Dupe? I can't remember. This is that one character that was introduced first in Ecstatic, and he's kind of the breakout star of Ecstatic like years ago, and every now and then he'll pop up in different X-Men books. My favorite take on Goop was when he was kind of like the receptionist at the Jean Grey School. I really enjoyed that. But here's Goop dressed up as Deadpool. Heroclix is the Origins Award winner, top-selling collectible miniatures game. And if you want to learn more about the rules, you can find them online at heroclix.com. And there's a giant community. You know, there's tournaments. Chances are your local comic book shops or your friendly local gaming stores has Heroclix tournaments. You know, and you can win prizes, leaderboards, achievements. So, I mean, playing and community is very encouraged with Heroclix. I think that's one of the things that's kept it alive for so many years. And let's get this one open. So this is box number 1. Oh, wait, let's take a look at the card first. So this Legacy card, I got it with the brick. And let's tear it open. Okay, so we got a Legacy card for Storm. It's hard to read because it kind of has that holographic effect. So it says here, a Legacy card corresponds with a Heroclix figure from a past Heroclix set release. If played using the Legacy card, a Legacy card character is considered modern, legal with the set who's set. So if all right, I could be wrong. So my understanding with this Legacy card is that if you get a modern figure of Storm, I think you can apply the Legacy attributes to her. I think that's what it's saying. I'd have a better understanding of it, but to be honest, it's kind of hard to read with this hollow foil. Right, so we'll set this card aside for now. And let's open up the first box. Alright, so the first box. Alright, so this, for me, this is like, I don't know, I'm like a kid in a candy store. I love blind bag or blind box things. And, wow, we have some cool ones here. Alright, so here's the cards that come with, the figures. These provide the stats. But the focus here, let's just focus on the figures for now. I don't play, it's like I said, I don't play Heroclix, so I don't know how interested you would be. I figure if you're watching this video, you're more interested in the figures than you are the stats on the cards. So we'll just set this aside for now, and let's just focus on the minis. Really excited. Okay, so let's set these aside first, and then we'll talk about which ones I got in box number 1. So if you're a fan of like Marvel or DC or specific properties, you know, take a look into Heroclix, because if you like collecting like this stuff in general, it gives you another outlet. Like I love collecting action figures, and I love miniatures, and for me, this is like a great blending of two different worlds, because I love miniatures. I also love the fact that I don't have to paint these miniatures. And these are miniature figures of something I really like, and that's superheroes. So let's say that you get bored of collecting like Marvel Legends and you want to branch off to collect something else. You know, give Heroclix a try. You don't have to play it to appreciate it. Heroclix has been around forever. So chances are they make like an infinite amount of versions of a character you might like. So chances are there's dozens of different Spider-Man, X-Men, Batman, Superman. Heroclix have been dabbling in other properties, like there's WWE. There's some like horror themed ones from like the horror films. There's Star Trek. There's like the Orville. I mean, you name it. Chances are they've probably made a Heroclix for it. Yeah, so I'm excited. Let's take a look at this first box that I got. So the first one we have. I want to say this is this Warpath? Yeah, this is Warpath. So we have Warpath as he. I'm not sure if this is a specific version of him. I believe it's from X-Force, or more recently, this might be his more recent costume as he's seen in. I believe he's in New Mutants in the new X-Men comic books. So Warpath he's kind of like with the rest of the older New Mutants, and they're training the younger mutants to use their powers and to hone their skills. But not only that, but they're also training the younger New Mutants to learn to synergize their powers and work in tandem with other mutants so they could create new power sets. I like Warpath a lot. He's a favorite of mine. Up next, we have, no introduction needed, we have the Sentinel. So this is a very small version of a Sentinel. If you're familiar with Heroclix, they've made like giant Sentinels in the past. And when I'm talking giant, I mean like this Heroclix here is probably about like, I would say maybe like 2 to 2.5 inches tall. There's been Heroclix where they'll make the Sentinel like giant. It'll be like a giant fig, like maybe like a 12 to like maybe like 14 or 16 inch figure. So here we have a Sentinel. The sculpting on these is beautiful. If you're familiar with the really old like first generation of Heroclix, the sculpting was never as nice as these are. This is a good reflection of where the technology is at. You know, the proportions are really heroic. They're better proportion. The musculature is better. The detail's a lot finer. The cuts are a lot deeper. And as I mentioned before, these are Heroclix, so if you're unfamiliar with them, as you play the game, all the stats and attributes of your character, they're not only listed on the cards, but they're also applied on this click dial. So as you play and progress, you know, you can be changing your stats at the turn of a dial. So there's a base, and then there's a window here to read your stats or your attributes. And then as you play along, you just kind of, you know, turn this as necessary. I don't play, but it's still, I mean, I think it's a cool play feature. I think it's very innovative and very copied, you know, gaming feature. I've seen this done before with other properties that aren't necessarily Heroclix. There'll be like some off-branded ones, but they incorporate a similar like click dial system. And if you're just interested in the minifigs alone, I've seen people actually debase the figs from the bases and glue them onto like poker chips or other minifig bases. So yeah, here we have the Sentinel. Up next, we have Polaris. I love Polaris. She's Magneto's daughter. And most recently, she was brought onto the... There's some paint or something chipping off on my finger. I don't know what that is. It's like dirt or something. That's weird. Okay, so yeah, there was something... I don't know what it was. There was like some sort of like weird residue or something that was rubbing off of my finger just now. Might have been paint, I guess. So Polaris, in the most recent X-Men comics, she's been made an official member of the new X-Men lineup. She's really awesome. You know, she's under constant pressure of Magneto since she represents the House of M. So she kind of feels that need to like prove herself, and you know, just because she's the daughter of like one of the most powerful mutants and leaders of the X-Men nation. So that's Polaris for you. Up next we have Mr. Sinister. Really beautiful sculpt. He has that crazy frayed cape, which, I mean, in the comic books, he's very proud of his capes. Sinister dabbles in cloning and genetics. He's always been known as an X-Men and X-Factor villain. But on the island of Krakoa, all is forgiven if you're a mutant, and he sits on the Quiet Council. But he has evil intentions, but he's at the same time, he's a very, very likable character. The most recent take on Mr. Sinister the past 2 years, I've fallen in love with the character. He's very villainous, but he's very charming. He's very likable. He appears in the book Hellions, and I just can't get enough of him. If you're a fan of X-Men, you know, and you haven't visited the comics in some time, you know, give some of these books a shot. I think it'll surprise you. So yeah, this is a really nice sculpt, and you know, just look at that. You know, the individual fingers are sculpted really well. His proportions are great. It looks awesome. My only complaint with this version of Sinister is this is the short-haired Sinister. I prefer Mr. Sinister with longer hair, as he appears in the comic books right now. Right, moving past Mr. Sinister, we have Jamie Madrix, the Multiple Man. And this is Jamie in his trench coat look. So in the comics currently, Multiple Man, he's using his so his mutant ability is that he can split himself into multiple separate, I don't know, essentially separate human beings. So he can actually multiply himself. And the most recent book I remember him seeing him in, he's in the book X-Corps. And in that, he's a scientist, and he kind of leads like a scientific team of just clones of himself. He's cool. His costume's kind of very plain. I believe he's married to the character Layla Miller. If I'm wrong, correct me on that in the comments below. He used to head up X Factor investigations, but I don't know. Right now he's a scientist, which seems kind of like a stretch for me, but I don't mind. All right, moving on to box number 2. Alright, so here are more trading, or not trading cards, here are more of the playing cards with each character's stats. And it's kind of cool too. They also give you a comic book cover mentioning the significant appearance. Alright, right off the bat, as I'm opening these, I gotta say, this series of Heroclix, X-Men Rise and Fall, I think right now for me, it's really living up to what I expected out of this set of action figures. Like, don't get me wrong, I really love the last set of Heroclix for X-Men, the House of X. But for this, I mean, 2 boxes in, and I'm already getting all these cool characters and like heavy hitter characters that I really like. We have Havoc. We have, I can never say his name right. We have Raza. We have the Brood. We have the Shadow King. Shadow King's awesome. And we have Dr. Moira McTaggart, who initially played a very important role in House of X, Powers of 10. She's kind of like the catalyst for everything that's going on right now, but right now she kind of remains hidden in the shadows. Alright, first up, let's take a look at the Brood. So here's the Brood alien. If you're an old-time X-Men fan, you'll know that the Brood's it's kind of like, it's kind of weird. It was kind of like inspired by the old original Alien film. But the Brood have kind of evolved into their own. You know, they kind of have their little corner of the galaxy, the Brood Empire, and you know, back in the day they used to hiss, now they talk, so they're a little bit more evolved than they first were. Up next we have Raza, and Raza belongs to the Starjammers. Excuse me. Alright, so the Starjammers, it's a group of space pirates, and it's led by Cyclops' father. And Raza is one of the space pirates. And they do make an appearance occasionally in the new X-Men books. Here's Dr. Moira McTaggart, and I talked about her a little. I would have preferred her in her lab uniform costume, but I think that came in the first series of Heroclix, in the House of X Heroclix. Over here we have the Shadow King. So the Shadow King's he's currently appearing, I believe, in the New Mutants book. He's been kind of manipulating some of the younger mutants. As I stated earlier, all is forgiven on the island of Krakoa, so even if you're an evil mutant, you're given a second chance. And it's not that I believe his intentions are evil, but I just think he's going about the wrong way. Like, I think he sincerely wants to help the younger mutants develop, but he's coming at it from a different point of view, and he's kind of manipulating, you know, the situation, and in some ways he's encouraging the kids to, like, utilize their powers in powerful ways, but at the same time, you know, he's kind of this nefarious individual. But it's really awesome to have many of them. Following that, we have Alex Summers, aka Havoc. This is Cyclops' brother. Very popular X-Men character. He's been the leader of X Factor. He's been a member of the Avengers. We've seen him as a bad guy when they did that Axis of Evil storyline years ago. Right now, he's a member of the Hellions. And the Hellions is kind of like Mr. Sinister's team, and it's kind of like the Rejects, but it's cool. You have a great set of cast of characters like Nanny and Orphan Maker. You have John Greycrow, aka Scalp Hunter, who's kind of, for me, the breakout star of the book. You have Wild Child. Psylocke heads up the field team, and you have Empath. I bet he's on the team also. Okay, we're moving on to this is box number 3. So it's gonna be a longer video. So if, you know, if you want, pause it, go make yourself some popcorn, and come back. Yeah, in honesty, I think I'm just gonna do this in one shot. I think I initially had plans of breaking it down into separate videos, but I don't know. Right now, I'm really feeling it, and I just want to get through all of them. Alright, so here's the playing cards. Set those aside. And let's take a look at this batch of 5. Alright, I'm excited because this dude is larger. He's bubble wrapped. And I don't know, he looks cool. Alright, so what we have here is Warstar. I know nothing about, to be honest, I know nothing about Warstar. But right now, it's a big mini compared to the other ones. He's kind of this green gold, and he has a smaller dude on top of him. It kind of reminds me of Master Blaster from Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. Nice sculpt. Big fig. Really impressed. Alright, this guy needs no introduction. We have Colossus here. Peter Rasputin. Alright, so Colossus is one of those characters. I'm very fond of Colossus, but to be honest, I'm not really particularly fond of the way the character's been portrayed the last, like, 20 years. For me, Colossus was always kind of like the heart of the X-Men. He was always the good conscious one. He was the nice guy of the team. But over the last, like, I don't know, 20 years, the character's become more, not that he's more brooding, he's more disturbed. He's the character that never gets a happy ending. So his relationships with the female characters never seem to work out. Like his relationship with, like, Kitty Pryde's always on and off. He's been involved with, like, Domino. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's something very sad about where the character is right now. I miss the old Peter. But he's always just visually a cool character to look at. And whenever you see him, he always kind of hits all those nostalgic strings just because of who he is. It's a great mini. Up next, we have Eric the Red. So this figure is kind of borders more on the space side of the X-Men adventures. Now, one thing I noticed about this figure is that, I'm not sure if it's just mine, but he's missing some paint application. So right here below his vest, there's these straps, but they remain unpainted. They're still flesh toned. So I don't know if that's the case for all of them or just mine. Nonetheless, it's still a nice sculpt. Really impressed with these miniatures. Okay, now we're talking. We have Cyclops. So this is great. Yeah, some of these figures, it's kind of bothersome because this guy's missing paint applications also. So on Cyclops' uniform, he has kind of like this yellow or gold piping or trim on his costume, and it's sculpted on the actual costume here, but it's not painted. They just painted the wrists and the belt. But this version of Cyclops, he has his hood down or his cowl down, so you see his hair. I'm kind of stoked because, you know, I have a Havoc figure, and now I have a Cyclops. Really cool. Glad I got this. And next we have Darwin. So Darwin's one of those characters, I always get his power set confused with some of the other X-Men characters. For some reason, alright, I always get him and what's the other figure? Is it Sync? I think I get his powers and Sync confused. So in a recent X-Men story, correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but towards the beginning of House of X and Powers of 10, they did a storyline where Cyclops, or he kind of like sent, there was like some sort of crazy mission that involved going into, it's not the world, it was this other facility that I think it was run by maybe like Orcus in the future, and it's this weird kind of like facility that exists on a different timeline. It's not like their rules of time are different than ours, so if you enter this building, you're like immediately sent into like the far future, but time moves differently there. So like normal human beings wouldn't be able to exist in this facility just because time moves differently. And then I think like normal human beings, their age would accelerate. So you'd age like immediately as soon as you got in there, and you'd die. So then Cyclops amassed a specific team of mutants whose powers all kind of feed off of each other, which is an ongoing theme of the current X-Men books. It's not just about one mutant and one mutant's powers. There's been a focus on like taking mutants and synergizing their powers so that they work together in tandem. So Cyclops amassed a small team of like 3 mutants. I believe it was Darwin, Sync, and Laura, aka Wolverine, aka X-32. And he sent them into this facility knowing that their powers combined together would combat this accelerated like aging in time, you know, as time moved forward. So he sent Darwin in there, he sent Laura in there, and Sync, and they got like their asses handed to them. So that's the last I remember of Darwin. That was his last adventure. Now, if you're not an X-Men fan, if you don't read the books, I kind of feel like I'm speaking this other language. And I don't know. So, I mean, you know I'm not a poser here. I'm not one of those people that just pretends to like the comic books or like superheroes and stuff. I kind of know what I'm talking about, so. Right, up next we have 5 more. Here are more of the playing cards with the stats. Oh man, like I said, right now I've been very impressed with what I've gotten so far in this brick. I haven't gotten a double yet, and all the characters I'm getting are heavy hitters. Unlike the previous House of X wave of Heroclix, I got a lot of doubles. I didn't get all the mainstream characters I wanted. I got a lot of B and C listers, but for this one, I'm getting all these really cool guys that I'm really excited about. All right, let's start off first, and we have Arclight. I'm not I mean, it's not that I'm not a big fan, but Arclight's never really struck me as a memorable character. The minifig's all right though. The sculpting's nice. You know, she has her chrome outfit going over the one shoulder. I'm trying to remember what the last story was that she was in. Can't remember. But it's a decent fig. I mean, for me, it's nothing to write home about. It's not necessarily a character that, you know, I could kind of like, you know, give or take. It's not a big deal. This one's cool. I'm excited about this guy. We have a Shayar Soldier. So this is a troop from the Shire Imperium, and it, you know, you can troop build these if you wanted to. A very generic kind of looking foot soldier. You know, they is in their trademark silver outfits with that weird dome on their head that I think covers their head feathers. I believe that's what they are. So yeah, we have a Shayar Soldier. And now we have Deathbird. Deathbird's awesome. She's one of those characters that she kind of borders lines on like anti-hero. It's almost kind of like Gladiator, depending on, you know, your point of view. Either she's a good guy or she's a bad guy. Right now in the comic books, I think she's kind of like the Imperial Council to Professor X's and Lalandra's daughter, who I believe is currently running the Shi'ar Empire. So they did a whole storyline, I believe, in the early, might have been the early issues of New Mutants. I could be wrong. And so in those issues, well, actually, this even predates that. So I think before House of X and Powers of 10, in the Rogue and Gambit comic book that was like 2 or 3 years ago, they were doing a storyline where Rogue and Gambit, they were sent on some sort of space mission, and they had to protect maybe like an egg or something. And as it turned out, it was actually the daughter of Professor X and Lalandra. And if you remember, Queen Lalandra, she used to run the Shi'ar Empire. So naturally, their daughter is the heir apparent to the Empire. And I think it's Gambit and Rogue who have to convince Deathbird that, you know, she's needed to be the counsel to this young girl, so she properly knows how that as she grows up, she probably knows how to like manage the Empire and navigate all this like intergalactic politics. So I mean, I like the character a lot. She's really cool. All right, this one is one I'm very excited for. We have Omega Red. A nice figure. I love the pose. He has his tendrils coming out. And Omega Red's currently appearing in the Wolverine comics and also occasionally in X-Force, which is also a Wolverine book. So the storyline with Omega Red currently in the X-Men books is that he was working. It gets confusing for me because I don't remember if he was working under the influence of like mind control or if he was being bribed. So he's kind of caught in the middle right now. Like, Omega Red wants to seek sanctuary on Krakoa, but at the same time, the mutants are kind of distrustful of him because he's been affiliated with Dracula and the Blood Nation, in the Vampire Nation. In the stories, I kind of recall like Dracula. I think it's Dracula. I might be wrong. It's one of the head vampire characters. Essentially, they want to kidnap Wolverine, aka Logan, because they want to get his blood. And if they get Wolverine's blood, they could like, you know, mess around with genetics and enable the Vampire Nation to walk during the day. So I believe they're using Omega Red as a pawn in all of this. But at the same time, I think Omega Red's also kind of being bribed by X-Force. Like, I think Beast and Logan are trying to cut a deal with Omega Red that if he works for them, they'll give him the C synthesizer, which he needs to stay alive. Yeah, I'm speaking another language. There's so many, I don't know. You read X-Men books for like most of your life, and the stories start blurring together, and it sounds like another language and like you're on another planet. But you know, that's comic books for you. I think that's why like the TV shows and the movies appeal to people, because it's not that it's dumbed down, but it's very, the storytelling is a lot more streamlined and it's more concise, whereas comic books, it's just a mess sometimes. So moving past Omega Red, we have Impulse. Not to be confused with the DC character Impulse, although this guy does share a similar color scheme. Very generic looking character. I couldn't tell you what his last adventure was because I can't remember it. Alright, let's move on to the next box. Alright, we have 6 boxes to go. This is going to take a while. This is going to be my longest video yet. Alright, let's open this one up. Okay, looks like I'm starting to hit doubles. Alright. Okay, here we have the playing cards, the cards with all the character stats. And let's take out this set of 5. Alright, okay, so right now I'm considering... Alright, so I know initially I said I was going to try to do one video. I take that back. I'm halfway through, so I'm going to cut this video. After I'm done with these guys, we'll call it a day, and this will be part 1, and then we'll move on to part 2. So yeah, so let's just focus on this last 5, and then we'll call this video a day, and then I'll do a part 2, and we'll open up the remaining 5. Okay, so first up, let's take a look at these. We have Firebelly. I don't know too much about this character. If I had to guess who this was, and knowing what this set is, maybe this is an alternate reality version of Toad. Alright, so if you know anything about this character Firebelly, leave a comment below. But it's a cool figure. I love the fact that I feel like I'm getting a lot with this guy, because you have the base, and there's kind of this cliffside that he's hanging from, and he has this crazy tongue coming out in fire. Yeah, really wild looking dude. We have another Multiple Man. Not complaining that I got double of him, just because his power is that he could like clone himself. Another Impulse. This one looks different than the one I got, just because this one looks like the paint application is a little bit better. Now we have Smasher. This is a member, I believe, of the Imperial Guard. He kind of falls into that space category of X-Men characters. I don't know, he's always been a very generic character. And I want to say Smasher is a title that's given to different characters. I want to say there's a female Smasher that's married to Cannonball, I think. If I'm wrong or confusing characters, let me know. And we're finishing off with a heavy hitter. We have Mystique. This is kind of Mystique's somewhat modern costume. She's kind of strayed away from the white, and she's, this is kind of more like stealthy, wearing the black, and she's dual wielding knives. Okay, let's wrap this video up. So this is part 1 of the Heroclix X-Men Rise and Fall. Be on the lookout for part 2. I hope you found this video informative. If you're new to the world of Heroclix, or this is their first time being introduced to them, Heroclix, it's a fun thing to collect. It's affordable. You get a lot of figs out of it. And, since they're so small, they're easy to display. And, I don't know. I love them. I'm not a hardcore collector, but every now and then, like I said, a set comes out that really interests me. And I love the X-Men, so, I got these. Alright, so I'll see you for part 2. Until then, take care.